This is Carla here with another review. This time it's for episode 8 of season 2 of Scorpion. This episode is called Area 51, as there are far fewer alien references in this episode than you would think for an episode with this title. But I still liked it because honestly, the Area 51 stuff I found was kind of peripheral to the Megan subplot for me. Like, I kind of tuned out on most of the Area 51 stuff. There were little moments that were kind of highlight to me. And I think this review is probably going to be very short because I honestly kind of tuned out. I was way more concerned with the emotional subplot in this one than I was about the actual stuff happening at governmental level. As far as that one plot, there were little moments that kind of made me smile. For example, this whole idea that Walter used 0G on the plane to actually get a hold of the keys. That was fabulous. I mean, it was really big stretch because not every plane can do that. It depends on a lot of factors, but I like the hint at it because I'm a big fan of space exploration, and that always makes me think of NASA. I mean, at the moment it happened, I'm like, yep, they pretty much wrote this entire episode just to have that one scene in. But I liked it. It was fun. I mean, I always like seeing anti-gravity planes on TV and in movies because it reminds me of NASA, so that's always a good thing in my book. Also, little moments that I liked that they got captured, honestly, because they're always sneaking into places with no consequence whatsoever. And usually this happens more when it comes to like other countries and stuff. Like they're sneaking into Cuba or whatever without being detected, but they tried to sneak into one little military base and they got caught. That was great, and I like that their cover story kind of backfired on them. That was very interesting. So yeah, it's nice to be reminded that even though they're geniuses, things don't always work out as planned, you know. I liked the fact that Paige actually got to kick an antenna while the geniuses were trying to plot how to disconnect it. She's just like, oh, we ain't got time for this, and kicked it. So that was fun. I always loved when Paige is being assertive because, you know, they need to use her for most of the first half of the episode. I was like, this doesn't really seem like the kind of mission that you bring Paige into, but she had her moment and it was cool. I didn't really quite get the whole prediction thing with Toby. Like, isn't that sort of what behaviorists do? I mean, they're not predictions, they're kind of educated guesses based on observations. So why is he trying to prove that it can be done? Like, I thought that's sort of what you did. So I didn't really see the point, but I liked it. I liked that at the end they started asking the CIA dude, questions about aliens and mysteries that involved Area 51 and aliens and that kind of stuff. Honestly, again, because I tuned out for most of the big plot, the part where it did get interesting for me was when the CIA guy turned on them. That was kind of the moment when I went, whoa, okay, this is a good plot. I guess I should have expected it, but I didn't see it coming. Even when I knew that they were using the plane to spy on people, I kind of still assumed that it was the pilots. It never really crossed my mind that it could have been the CIA giving the orders for that. So I thought that was cool that he turned on them, and I loved the way the way Walter just bluffed his way through that entire conversation. He's like, yeah, the drone is coming in 5, 4, 3, and then on the other side, Sylvester's just like, Walter, are you listening to me? I can't see you. So it was like totally by a hair that they actually pulled that one off. And it was just because the drone happened to be in that vicinity, but none of them actually knew what was happening. So I thought it was a really good a good moment. But honestly, the crux of this episode really is the Megan plot, and I like that they are actually moving forward with Megan's decease, because I've seen it in too many TV shows by now where somebody has a chronic disease or disease that can be potentially fatal, and they kind of stretch it out forever. And I'm always just kind of thinking, well, weren't you dying of like cancer or something like 3 seasons ago, and you're still here and you still seem fine? So it just doesn't seem realistic to me, because in real life, MS is a disease that actually can work very fast, and that's kind of the devastating thing about it, that it's like Keith said, you have to kind of make memories, and this disease, sometimes it goes so fast that you just don't have the chance. That's what's so devastating, and then you're left with that idea that you didn't have as much time with that person as you wanted. So I like that they're going with that with Megan, that it doesn't seem unrealistic. She actually is getting worse. You know, she actually might die, and I'm thinking she probably will, if this is anything to go by, because I don't think Walter's plan of downloading her brain into a hard drive and implanting it in somebody else is going to work. I mean, call me crazy, but it probably won't work. But moreover, it's the way they are processing this, and I like that they all kind of have their own ideas of how to deal with grief. Whereas Toby is like, oh yeah, this is natural, because he can understand why Walter is doing what he's doing. So he's like, yeah, that's just the way he processes that. That's fine. Then Happy's like, oh, you can just not think about it. That works. I mean, that's so Happy Quinn. On the other hand, Walter is kind of denying the idea that it might even happen, because he's determined to save Megan, and he wholeheartedly believes that because he's a genius and everything he thinks of he can make happen, that he can actually beat death. So that is one way of thinking about it, whereas Sly is kind of figuring out that sometimes you just have to get used to the idea and make the most of the time that you do have, which is what I think Paige is trying to imply. But at the same time, I don't think Sly is going to take it well when Megan actually does die. Like, he seems so mature now, but I think when the time comes, if the time comes, but I think it will, it's going to hit him really hard. So I don't think any of them are prepared for this. And it kind of sucks because, again, like Walter said, he's been living with Megan and with this disease for a long time. So he's just, I think it's also out of guilt that he didn't do enough before. That he's now, like, now that the clock is starting to wind down, he's actually, like, in a rush to be able to do something to make up for all those years that he hasn't been able to do anything for her. So I think that's a lot of a part of it. And I mean, at the same time, I like that we saw both sides of it, because on the one hand you have Paige, who's just trying to kind of prepare him for the worst, because he has to be prepared. At the same time, he does have a point. Paige did tell him in that first episode, and by the way, I love that they referenced the first episode. Continuity for the win. He does have a point that, in that first episode, she basically taught him that you can't give up on hope, that there's always a way. And he's just latching on to that. you know? I think deep down, I hope he will realize that yes, he has emotions, and that, you know, he cares about his sister and he doesn't want her to die, so that's an emotion, right? So I hope there will be some kind of admission to that, because otherwise he sounds sort of like he's seeing this as a science project, and it shouldn't be. But like what he told Paige, I think kind of alludes to that, the idea that he's not giving up on hope yet, and Walter is not the type to just sit idly and do nothing. So when he hopes for something, he tries his hardest to make it happen. It's still, I mean, he has to come to a middle ground, right? Because it's not good, it's not healthy to just hope for things and assume that you will get it and not be prepared for the possibility that you can't. But at the same time, I think Paige needs to be also a little bit more careful with them, because, you know, miracles do exist. You never know if Megan starts getting better of it, or even if Walter actually finds something that might help other than downloading her brain, because that's kind of a post-death kind of thing, you know. It's like, oh, she's gonna die anyway, I'm just gonna implant her brain in someone else. Great, but yeah, the idea is trying to help her so she doesn't die. So I think he needs to find a middle ground there. I don't know that he will. You know, I think if... Sorry about that phone ringing. Yeah, I was saying if Megan dies, it's going to be a hard blow for everybody. So they really need to come to a way to deal with this. It's going to be tough. I mean, again, I like Megan, so I don't want to see her die. I just think it's probably where it's going to go, because I don't think, I mean, unless she makes some kind of miraculous recovery, which I don't think she will. I like that they're not making her disease unrealistic, because there are tons of people with MS out there, and their prognosis is probably not good. So I think it would be kind of irresponsible for Megan to just make an incredible recovery all of a sudden while people in real life are dying of this disease. So they have to be respectful for that. I hope they do. I mean, it's breaking my heart, even though I'm saying it will happen. It hasn't happened yet, and it's breaking my heart, because I don't think the four of them are going to be okay. I mean, mainly Walter and Sylvester. This is gonna hit him so hard. And speaking of Walter and Sylvester, I like the idea that at the end they're still kind of they kind of come to blows, not blows, but they have a little argument about what to do with Megan's treatment, because I think Walter kind of thinks that everybody thinks that way, and he hasn't yet realized that Megan does not want to spend the rest of her life like depending on machines or in pain because of this thing. She'd rather have quality of life over quantity of life. Walter hasn't seen that yet, and I think it's good that Sylvester is respecting Megan's wishes, even if he's not kind of prepared for it, I think. But Walter isn't, and I can't wait to see the moment when it hits him that maybe he just can't save his sister. It's going to be heart crushing for sure. But I'll be glad to actually see this show tackle a bit more serious topics, because I think it's worth it. It might not be the most scientifically accurate show around, but it does have a heart, and I think the characters are the best part of it, and the way they react to things. So, you know, death is kind of the one thing. They've tackled it in like immediate ways, like accidental ways, the possibility of dying on a mission or that sort of thing, but natural causes are kind of beyond them at the moment, and I hope that Walter would see that like Sylvester is kind of starting to. So, wow, that got serious really fast. Just, I thought it was a good episode. I mean, the main plot I didn't care for, but the emotional plot line with Megan's disease and everything, I thought that was really well done. I'm hoping that they keep doing it well in the future. And I think they really have a handle on these characters and how they're reacting to things that are sort of beyond their control. I hope that Paige will manage to get through to Walter in a slightly better way, in a way that doesn't make him feel completely impotent to save his sister, because Walter and impotence just don't work well. He becomes reckless, and I mean, we've seen it happen before, so I hope she can get through to him. I think Kate kind of gave up on that conversation a bit too fast. I would have kept it a little bit more, but hey, this is Walter, so stubborn is his middle name. I thought it was a good episode. It was interesting. I like the mention of Area 51. I liked all the flying hijinks they got into. I liked that they actually got caught for once. And it was an entertaining episode, but most of it was really emotional. Mostly, like, that was the best part of it, and I hope that the show continues to do that going forward, because they really have a very heart-wrenching plotline on their hands. So I can't wait to see how that goes. That's it for my review today. I guess if you guys want to see more Scorpion reviews, you can visit our website at thegeekypub.com. We have reviews for the previous episodes of this season and for our binge watch of last season. So yeah, be sure to check that out. And also we have other reviews for TV shows, books, movies, games. We have a bunch of stuff there, so be sure to visit and check that out. And I will see you guys in my next review. So bye.